I didn't take off my makeup last night, and I added some stuff to my face today, so hopefully I look factionless. That was the intent, to look somewhat factionless. Hello Internet, around here I go by Cat of Diamonds, and welcome to my FannishReviews. So I went to see Insurgent with my mother a few days ago, and people who knew I was going wanted me to let them know how I thought it was. I wanted to make this video even though I didn't make a Book2Movie for Divergent, because I want to say it was good with a huge asterisk behind it. I'm going to start off by saying I really liked the adaptation of Divergent. I was really about the casting of Theo James, because I was like, dude, he's old. That he's like super old, so Shailene, who's supposed to be like 16 to 18, and Fuller, who's supposed to be 18 to 20, like that age range, more appropriate in the books, and Theo James is supposed to be like 25 and in real life is 30, and it just makes for a more inappropriate on-screen relationship and perpetuating of relationships that is like unhealthy because of the power dynamic and things like that. However, I enjoy the dystopia so much, and I think Divergent was such a great translation from book to screen because of like how much adrenaline I had when I was walking away from the movie theater. It was very similar to what it was like reading the book. That being said, I have accepted Theo James as 4, but also with the idea that I am supremely attracted to Theo James as he is my age, and I still don't believe that it is an appropriate relationship between 4 and Triss visually. I just understand the decision to make him look older and more muscular. And if you didn't have the background of the books and just how much respect 4 gets from the culture of Dauntless, and I definitely attribute this to being one of those examples of where books and movies are two different storytelling devices. When you translate a book to a film, like, there's going to be certain sacrifices. If that adaptation is done well, then the loss of those details from the books aren't as tragic or detrimental to the story that is given to you via cinematic adventure. So, spoiler free, I believe that if you saw Insurgent without reading the books, you would be entertained, but it would not stay with you. You wouldn't be sitting there like boiling over about Insurgent days later. You would recognize that it's messy, but it was just fun and entertaining, so you would just accept it and move on. I guess the best I can say for the non-spoilery bit would be, if you are a diehard fan of the books, you need to go into Insurgent with a huge grain of salt. They changed a lot so that visually it would be more captivating, and I'm not positive if they really good. So that's it on the non-spoilery bits. I have a few like blahs that I kind of want to get off my chest. Going into the spoilery complainty section, I did enjoy this movie. So on the whole, I enjoyed watching the film. While watching the movie, there were pinpoint things that like took me out of the experience, so I didn't get completely lost in watching the movie. There were like just little dialogue bits that I felt were like, meh, why did they bother saying that? Or did that line really need to be delivered that way? And then some of these little things that kind of distracted me while watching it kind of percolated more after it, and I was just like, wow, that really wasn't as good as I thought it was. Those little wandy things that was this super great technology to like target the divergence among the factions by just like scanning their face. I get it to an extent, like you have to figure out how to show the audience like what they're doing to push the plot and push the fear levels of the people that they're trying to control, but the technology itself makes 0 sense. To go from like a mind control serum that weeds out divergence within specific factions to a little wandy thing that just bam tells you, it really, that technology doesn't even make sense. I think the turning point with it, like I might have just been like, well, I get it. But when they scan Triss, she's 100% divergent, and that does not make sense either, because then when she goes into the Sims to break out the little hard drive message, she fails on the first try. Like, it almost destroys her, and if she was 100% divergent, she would have passed that first go, but then you wouldn't have that time to develop the tension, and you wouldn't be able to see all the actions in the Sims, because the Sims are actually a great visual addition to the movie, but it wouldn't have enough time to build, and you wouldn't have enough time for the others to come in and save them. So it really does not make sense. I get it from someone who doesn't give a shit, but in a sense of like, she should have been like 80% or 85%. I think it just makes Tris more interesting that she is the strongest that they've discovered. The idea that maybe Divergents aren't strong enough yet, especially if you think of the scope of the situation. They're looking for someone who is 100%, and so seeing as how society is falling apart and really Divergents are these hunted few and not truly accepted, then it would make sense that someone at 85% would be a bad thing versus more of them stronger at 100%. I don't know, it's really hard to explain and I'm getting super rambly, but just know that this was a frustrating part for me. Basically, if we could sit down and talk about it for an hour, I feel like I could get my feels out about it. The next thing that really frustrated me was the fact that visually I understand the factionless warehouse was this like underground established home. For a movie, that makes sense. Like, you want to see something visually amazing. However, it is a really big point of disbelief for me, because if you have Janine, who's super controlling and like really making sure that she can orchestrate her rise to power, it does not make sense that the factionless would be so organized and no one would know about it. I know that it'd be visually challenging to have an extremely organized nomadic factionless, but again, it's just one of those things, the more that I think about it, it stretches my suspense of disbelief a little bit too much. And then we have the casting of Naomi Watts, who plays Tobias's mother, but she's 46 in real life, and on screen she looked 35 at most. Her makeup and her styling made her look like this young, hip sister or ex-girlfriend of 4, because, again, I talked about it earlier, 4 looks 30 in the movie series. In real life, for Naomi Watts to birth Theo James, she would have had to have him at 16. And sure, she might have been this super young wife to Marcus in Abnegation, but at the same time, she looked 35. She needed to look her age, or even a little bit slightly weathered or older. I don't care that she's this super powerful general of the factionless. She needed to look her age. I don't know whose decision that was. If it was someone in the production design team who's like, well, let's just make everybody look young, hip, and cool. And it makes me unreasonably angry. Like, I get that it's just a movie, but it's like this little, every time she showed up on screen, I was like, oh, I hate this visual representation of you, when I'm supposed to have severe feelings about the character. And like, there's some things that I didn't really appreciate. Tris is supposed to have severe PSD with shooting guns because of the fact that she killed Will, and that takes away from her character. It takes away from the agency that she needs to build as a character. The fact that Tris and 4 are pretty much fine, like there's some friction, but they're kind of okay. It takes away from the fact that she makes stupid decisions when she feels by herself, but 4 is like there for her no matter what. They have these disagreements in the movie, but he's still there for her. There's just really a lot of decisions that the characters make that don't have any character backing to make them. So while Insurgent is super entertaining and it's good for an entertaining film, the ultimate asterisk is that you can't take it seriously. And I feel that maybe my biggest disappointment is that there has been this certain leveling up in YA book-to-movie adaptations, that like they're getting better and better and better on the whole. The adaptations are as fulfilling, or even sometimes better, in my personal opinion, than the book originally was. So I think I just rambled on for a ton of minutes of your time without actually coming to any conclusion. I was really hoping that while I talked about it, I would come to a better conclusion, but I did not. So definitely let me know in the comments if you've seen Insurgent and like what you felt about it and how you think Allegiant is going to be. From the last time, I remember they were going to split it up into 2 movies, and with the announcement on the hard drive being broadcast at the end of Insurgent, like, isn't that in Allegiant? Triss and Four and their little band of players wants to go outside the wall, and nobody else supports leaving the wall because of fear, and so therefore they support the regime that wants to stay behind the wall, and that's why they go out and discover things. And I feel like because they have shifted the plot progression in the films, how the will they make it into two different movies when there really isn't that much content in Allegiant? If you have liked this mess of a video, please subscribe. If you've been like, not all my videos are like this, so subscribe anyway. Until my next video, happy reading. Hello Internet, around here I go by Cat of Diamonds, and welcome to my Fannish Reviews. A few weeks ago, Sana of Books and Quills posted a video all about the dedications in books.